Hi you guys, this is Madison, and today I'm going to talk to you about how I built my $21,000 to $29,000 a month vending route from scratch, from the ground up in the last 18 months. This document is going to contain everything I have learned about building that business in a year and a half while being a full-time stay-at-home mom, lots of times with the kids in tow, dragging them along with me, and without working more than 12 to 14 hours a week, other than a few exceptions, a few emergencies. Other than that, that's all we're doing right now. First things first, let's get this out of the way because I know everybody is going to want this information. Here it is. This is what the business actually looks like for me. As I am filming this, I currently have 16 machines located across the Las Vegas Valley. They are generating altogether between $21,000 to $29,000 a month on my best month. Profit on that is 35 to 40% at the best. At its worst, it's not much less than that anyways, but that's about 8 to 11,000 in net profit each month. And that's using, like I said, 12 to 14 hours a week of my time. I do drag the kids along with me for lots of those hours, so it's not all just me. Couple fun facts. I originally put $5,000 of my own money into this business to get it up and off the ground. Since then, I have not put in more of my own personal money than that original $5,000. So it is just little by little snowballing, building on itself, and scaling with that original investment. Another fun fact is I opened my LLC on January 1st, 2025. And I went downtown first thing on New Year's Day. I was a bit hungover from the night's festivities. But I just knew that if I didn't get up, do it, I had been talking about it, I had been thinking about it. If I didn't do it, new year, new me type thing, I would probably procrastinate for who knows how long. So January 1st was my day. Here is a little snippet of what a month looks like on one of my sales dashboards, just so you can get an idea of the numbers. So first of all, a little bit about me. I'm Madison. Like I said, I am in Las Vegas. I have lived here for about 10 years. I have two beautiful babies, a boy who is 6 and a girl who is 3. And over the last year and a half, I have built my vending business up to doing $29,000 a month, its best month, in about 12 to 14 hours a week. And we just started with one machine. Before this, I spent 4 years in timeshare sales, a very long, tiring 4 years. After having my first child, I opened up my own business. I wanted to work for myself. I had an event rental business here in Las Vegas. And I just burnt myself out back to back, once with timeshare, once with my business. And eventually I knew I wanted to work for myself, but I realized I couldn't do it again if it was going to be a business that depended on me every second of every day and just sucked the life out of me. So that's really why I love vending, not because I think it's the most perfect business model in the world, not because it's the most exciting. I just think it fits the stage of life that I'm in really, really well right now, better than anything else I've found, for sure. So this guide is pretty much everything that I know. It's real numbers, my real mistakes, which I have made some mistakes, okay? We're gonna talk about deals I've walked away from, scripts that I use when talking to people, how I'm landing locations, and just kind of go through it step by step, one by one. And hopefully this can save you from making some of the same mistakes that I've made over the last year and a half. So what we're going to cover today, lots of things, beginning to end. I am going to tell you exactly how I built my business. This is what we're going to cover. I'll go through it really quick, but if you are looking for something specific, do feel free to skip around. This is what it's going to look like. So first of all, we're going to talk about me, my story, why I built this business, why vending, why I think vending is different, and who this business is actually a good fit for. We're going to talk about the state of the vending industry as a whole, and why I personally think it's still way more wide open than a lot of people make it out to be. People typically say vending is saturated. I don't agree. I'll tell you about it. We're gonna go over why I'm sharing this rather than just going out and landing myself 50 or 100 more locations on my own. And then we're gonna get into the nitty gritty, the real details, what machines cost, what they actually make, what the numbers look like, and how the payback math can work for you. The second half of this guide is where we'll get really practical. We're gonna go through my best performing locations. I'm gonna rank locations, tell you what I personally think is the best performing locations versus the worst. Actual pricing philosophy, actual product math, what items are selling for, what it looks like on paper. I'm gonna explain how I run the route today, exact pitches I'm actually using when I'm speaking to locations, trying to land them, go through some mistakes, and we're gonna talk honestly about the close rate in this business because it can be a tough one, but if you know that going in, it's not that bad. Step 6 is gonna be the actual playbook itself. If I was gonna build my business from scratch today, starting as brand new, these are the 4 steps I would take, and this is the order I would do it in. And just what my 18-month timeline looks like, what your next step could be from here, and some questions I get asked every single day. So first though, I think it's important that you understand why I built this business the way that I did. That's just really the whole reason why I'm sitting here writing this, telling you about this. Who is this for and who I actually am? I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about myself, and I'm definitely gonna tell you why I care so much about it. So before having kids, I touched on earlier, I spent 4 years selling timeshare out here in Las Vegas. I worked for, if you know timeshare, I worked for them, I'm sure. Blue Green, it's now Hilton, Diamond, Wyndham. I really did love sales. I love the mental chess game that you play, the psychology of it. Definitely the challenge and the competition. I worked with my husband alongside him, so that was a fun thing too. And at my best, I was making some serious money. The problem wasn't the money. It just, sometimes industries like that, they can just take everything from you. They can just suck the life out of you. I'd get to work sometimes at 7:30 in the morning, and I had this history. I don't know why. I was the queen of writing the very first deal of the day, and somehow I would end up writing the very last deal of the same day. Sometimes I wouldn't finish that deal until my later days were 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I would actually clock out and walk barefoot to my car crying, this happened more than once. It wasn't just the worst day ever. I mean, it happened not every day, but it happened. Saturdays were non-existent in my life. We had blackout dates on holidays where you weren't allowed to take off those days. Those were busy sales days. People come to town for those sorts of things. So never could you take off Thanksgiving, 4th of July, Memorial Day weekend, none of the fun stuff all your friends are doing. As I got a little bit older, I started missing weddings. Friends were getting married, birthday parties going on. It's always on a Friday. It's always on a Saturday. I could never go. So I was making really good money, but I just really didn't have a great life to spend it in because I gave it all to work. Then I had my son, and I honestly thought I wouldn't sell maybe anything ever again. Instead, I knew I wanted to work for myself, and I kind of stumbled into the event rental business here in Las Vegas. It worked really well. It was a profitable business for sure. I enjoyed it. I was passionate about it, and genuinely, I think I was really good at it too. There were box trucks, I had warehouses, tons of inventory. I had over 900 antique glass goblets that I could decorate weddings, baby showers, corporate events. I had inventory that dated back to the 1850s, and I was just constantly booked. And, you know, somehow in the end, I ended up doing another one of those things that, yes, I was good at, but ate away at my life. I think my event rental business owned me even more than timeshare. Every wedding is someone's biggest day of their life. There are no sick days, no room for mistakes, and you definitely didn't have weekends off in that business either. Saturdays, weddings, baby showers, Saturday mornings, sometimes they didn't end until 2 in the morning. I was constantly moving around heavy furniture alone by myself in the middle of the night because inevitably somebody I had hired to come help me just didn't show up, which also happened more than once. Then I got pregnant with my second child, and I had a surprising high-risk pregnancy. After 3 months of bed rest, at one point I actually had to discharge myself from the hospital a little early, earlier than I should have, after going into preterm labor so I could go help run a wedding that I had committed to more than a year prior to this, before I was even pregnant, before I even had any inkling I might have a high-risk pregnancy. There was a bride who booked a wedding with me a year in advance. She had 60 people coming out from the UK, and I was 8 months pregnant, high risk, on bed rest, and I had no help. We ended up getting it done, but it wasn't pretty, and it was just very eye-opening. 3 weeks later, my daughter was born, and she had her own share of medical issues, trials, tribulations, and she ended up spending 12 days in the hospital when she was brand new, and that was just kind of my breaking point. I realized that if your business falls apart every time life happens, which is inevitable, then your business owns you, and I just didn't want that anymore. The stay-at-home years in between were absolutely amazing. I have had the privilege of being home since my son was born. I love being home with them. I do so much. I still do. But I was slowly losing a part of myself that I like. And both of those things can be true at the same time. You can absolutely love being a stay-at-home mom, be a wonderful, devoted mother, and still wish that you had something of your own, something outside of just your children and your family that you could be passionate about. I missed building something. I missed solving problems. I missed having something that was just mine. I was buying my husband Christmas gifts and birthday gifts with his own money. And it just ate away at me more than I can explain, more than I thought it would when I had agreed, yes, like I want to stay at home with the kids. Vending gave me a piece of myself back. And honestly, that matters to me more than the income. All right, here is my baby daughter. This is my Delilah girl, supervising one of my restocks, eating some of my snacks. And I will tell you guys the full story of how I ended up out in Vegas by myself at 18 and everything that happened before this. It'll be its own video one day, but this is the kind of short and sweet version. So, like I said, let's get into it. Who I think this is good for, who I think is not cut out for this business, okay? We're gonna keep it real. I think this would be a great business for you if you're a couple of people. One, if you have been successful in sales or corporate and you're tired of building somebody else's thing for them and you want to build something of your own, you already know the biggest parts of this business. 80% of this business is going to be talking to people, handling objections, looking professional, building relationships, following up, maybe even knowing how to close a little bit. Number two, I think this is good if you are a stay-at-home parent. Somebody who absolutely, like me, loves being at home, loves the time with their children, wants to keep that, but still wants something that's yours. Like I said, this costs me 10 to 14 hours a week, other than some very few and far between emergency circumstances. And like I said, I drag my kids with me constantly. Love that or hate that. They probably hate it, but it happens. Number three, if you have a demanding W-2 and you do not want to quit yet, but you'd maybe like to slowly start building something in the background that one day allows you to leave that job, something that you own. And lastly, number four, I think that this would be good for you if your dream is a business that doesn't fall apart because your kid gets sick, because you finally decide to take a vacation, because life happens. That's why I did it. That's exactly what I did, and that's why I built it this way. So this is perfect for you. Who this is not for, if you think passive income means absolutely zero work, you'll probably hate this business. It can be passive. It is passive at times, but the beginning, building this from nothing, is going to be lots of parking lots, lots of conversation, lots of no's, lots of sweating, lots of hauling heavy things around, shopping, trials, tribulations, and figuring it out. So if that's going to bother you, maybe this isn't for you. Number two, if rejection completely destroys you, if you're going to take it personal, if you're going to get stuck under it, if you're going to let it bog you down, this probably isn't your business either. You are going to hear way more no's than you are going to hear yeses. We're going to dive into that a little bit more later, but if you think that that's going to tear you apart, maybe it's not your best business either. And if you're looking for an overnight lottery ticket, this is not that. It is a math business, but it is a small math business. We're selling sodas and chips, things little by little. The beginning feels slow, then one machine, like I did it, buys another, and then soon, eventually, it's compounded, yes, into something larger. But initially, it takes time. So if you are still here, great. This is going to be what the industry that you're going to come into is actually going to look like. Once I started peeking behind the curtain, I realized I wasn't competing against what I thought I was in this business, at least out here. And I think that was something that was pretty surprising to me. So let's go into the state of this industry and why I personally think it is still way more wide open than a lot of people make it out to be. One of the questions people are constantly asking is, isn't vending saturated? Honestly, I thought the same initially. And then I just started walking into locations, checking it out, educating myself a little bit. I remember the moment that changed my mind. I was out doing my pop-ins. I walked into a manufacturing facility, and the girl at the front desk, she happened to be the HR manager. I don't know if she was just filling in for lunch. She was always up there, but she introduced me to the business manager. And within just minutes of telling him about, my idea, kind of who I was, he started venting that they had a vending company currently in the back, and one of their machines had been out of order for 60 days. 2 months. That's a long time. 2 months. And the other machine technically worked, but because one of them was out of order, they really hadn't been back very much to update, restock. And most of the food in it was expired. So I'm sitting there picturing the people that worked there. It's like peak summer. And there's 225 of them working in Las Vegas in the heat, guys. It's like 115 degrees here in the summer. They're in a warehouse. Most of them carpool. They're blue collar guys. Some of them take public transport. It's a kind of an industrial area, like a food desert, we call it. Really leaving for lunch isn't much of an option, and there's nothing walkable. So they're just relying on these machines pretty much day after day, and the operator just stopped caring for some reason. I remember thinking to myself, like, this is the competition? And I don't mean to say that like snobby or arrogantly. I was just genuinely shocked that somebody would spend the time, spend the money on getting machines, getting a location, and then just kind of give up on it. It wasn't somebody I was going to have to go up against that had better technology than me. They had better prices. They were just great, excellent, giving excellent service. They just didn't show up anymore. So I replaced them. I still have that location in my portfolio today. I guess I've had it maybe 14 or 15 months now, and it still is averaging like $5,500 a month. That's kind of when my whole perspective changed on this. People think vending is saturated because they see vending machines everywhere they go, but I don't agree. It doesn't matter that there's vending machines everywhere. What matters is how well they're kept, how well they're serviced. And everywhere I go, I see neglected machines, empty machines, out of order signs, handwritten, taped over them. I mean, row after row after row, just empty, expired food, no card readers, things like that. So I don't think that the opportunity isn't that there's not enough vending machines or that there's not enough vending operators. I think the opportunity is that there aren't enough operators out there who truly care. I do believe the numbers are backing that up too. Around 70% of vending operators run fewer than 5 routes. So small operators, and those small operators are making up over half of the industry. So we're a large bit, but they only account for a tiny percentage of the sales, probably because of reasons like I just listed above. So the industry is still really fragmented. At the same time, we are right in the middle of a really big shift in this business. Consumers expect to tap their phone instead of carrying around cash and coin. Fresh food is becoming more common. Smart coolers and micro markets are changing what this industry even looks like. Operators can now monitor inventory, sales, machine health, stats, if it's stocked out, things like that from their phones instead of driving around with a truck full of stuff and guessing. Even private equity has started buying up vending routes because they see where this industry is headed. So that's kind of where I got some confidence. I realized I wasn't the only one seeing opportunity here. Even the guys writing really big checks are seeing the opportunity too. But really at the end of the day, it's not about vending machines. It's about recurring revenue, having little streams of revenue that add up little by little. When most people hear vending, they probably picture someone stocking chips and drinks and candy bars, so on. I don't. I just see little cash flowing assets, low barrier of entry, not as expensive of a startup cost as a lot of businesses to get into, and a business that gets less time consuming typically as you build it. Something that could eventually become an asset you could even sell one day. You don't have to do it forever. Things like that. So my advice to anyone getting into vending is going to be pretty simple. Before you worry about having like the fanciest machine, a bang up website, the perfect social media page, yada, yada, just show up, just give people fresh food, keep it in date, service your locations excellently, Be kind. People will love you, and I think that will stand out amongst a lot of the other operators that are out there right now who have just lost interest or lost passion or just don't care anymore. I know that sounds very, very simple, but literally after walking hundreds of locations, I think that's where the bar is, and it's a lot lower than a lot of people think. So why am I telling you this? I know that's going to be the first question people are asking, and it's a fair one, because if this business is as good as I'm saying it is, why wouldn't I just go on to build my own 500 machines, 500 locations, build a huge vending route if I'm just going to teach other people how to do it? Honestly, I don't want that right now. I don't want 500 machines right now. That is not the season of life that I'm in. I know that that sounds weird coming from someone telling you how great this is, but it's my honest truth, because I one day plan and I will have a vending route of over 100 machines. I fully expect that. I just don't feel the need to like speed run it and get there at the speed of light, get there as fast as humanly possible. Right now, my route contributes really well to my family. It gives me flexibility. It lets me travel. It lets me sleep in every single day in the summer. It lets me stay up as late as I want, get to take random trips with my husband. I go to every friend's wedding I want to go to, and I'm present for the stuff that really matters the most to me. So could I double my route? Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I could, I think pretty easily at this point. And could I make more money? Yeah, I could. But I also know what it takes to build from where I am today to 100 machines. And it's going to take time. It's going to take conversations. It's not going to just magically happen overnight. It takes prospecting, installs, relationship building, following up, creating systems. I mean, there's a lot of time that's going to go into it to get to that point. And yeah, once I'm there, it'll be smooth sailing. But right now, my kids are little. I'm just not willing to rush through this season of life just to have some more money and get there a few years faster. I will get there. The route will grow. I'm just going to let my kids grow up a little bit first. That's the most important thing to me. I think another tidbit on this is in timeshare, I sat down with people face to face every single day who had spent their whole lives saying that one day I will do this. Someday I will travel. Eventually I will spend more time with my family. You know, those were the words that they used. One day, maybe, hopefully, we'll see, someday, eventually. Someday they were going to do it. And then some of them never got to. I just don't want my life to be one long version of someday. So I promised myself I wouldn't build another business that kept moving the finish line. Every time you think you'd get there, nope, now you need another one of this, now you need another one of those, and so on and so forth. For me, the finish line was never just build the biggest route, build the most profitable route. It's not about top line revenue for me. My finish line personally is building something that gave me my life back, allows me to contribute to my family, but I'm in control, and I feel like I've done that. I have freedom. I have something that's mine, but I have freedom. And yes, there's also opportunity that comes across my desk more and more often now as I grow that I'll probably never take. I'm starting to get little referrals from property management companies in other states, maybe just too far from me in the same state. Maybe not exactly my criteria I look for, but it's not necessarily a bad criteria. I'm just being a bit more picky now because I want my time to be free. And I just hate more than anything saying no. I would rather say I can't personally, but I have a great operator in that area. I know somebody that this is perfect for. Let me connect you. So as these opportunities come in, I would love to pass them along to somebody else, because otherwise they're just dying on my desk right now. So what gets me excited is not squeezing in another 20 machines into my schedule. It's helping somebody else land their first location. Being able to watch another mom realize that she doesn't have to choose between being present for every one of those first moments with her kids and a job and providing for them. That's something that really, really gets me going right now. Being able to see somebody eventually leave a job that they hate, that has maybe consumed them for a lot of years. I feel that because I lived that. And honestly, I love teaching. I love sales. I love building systems. I just love taking something that feels overwhelming and making it make sense, breaking it down into little pieces you can do day by day. So I'm really not teaching this because vending stopped working for me. I'm not teaching this because vending never worked for me. It's not that it stopped working for me. I am truly just teaching this because it worked exactly the way that I hoped it would. And if I can help somebody else build their version of that, whatever that looks like for them, I think that that's a pretty exciting next chapter for me. All right, so let's get into some nitty gritty, the actual economics of this business and kind of the whole model on one page. Let's break it down. Before we talk about location, sales, any of that super fun stuff, I know that's the exciting part, but I want you guys to understand how this business actually works. Once you kind of have an understanding of the math, everything else will start to make a lot more sense. At the end of the day, don't think of it as just a vending business. It is an asset building business. Every single machine is an asset that throws off cash flow every single month, month after month. The question isn't how much money can this machine make. In my eyes, it is how quickly can this machine pay for the next one. So that's really the whole game. One of the first things that people are always asking is how much do the machines really cost? There is a pretty wide range here. You guys won't love that, but depending on the manufacturer you go with, you can get some of these smallest smart coolers on the market for about $3,500, top of the line, all in, taxes, white glove delivery, set up on location. For the fanciest stuff, I think is about $12,000 right now, which sounds like a lot, I know at first, but think of them as assets. Think about how fast it's gonna pay you back. What matters isn't whether the machine is $4,000 or $10,000. What matters is how quickly it can pay itself off and start buying the next one. People have a lot of questions about the software. What sort of software is involved? What do you need to get this business up and running off the ground? Almost everything is already built into the machine. You don't have to have a separate software for payment processing, point of sale, inventory tracking, remote dashboards, your sales reports, machine alerts. I can pull out my phone and I can just look at what's being sold, at which machine, if something's out of stock, if God forbid a machine goes offline, I get notifications, and how every location is performing without even leaving my house. Obviously, one of the reasons I like this business is because the margins are healthy. A Coke that I buy for 66 cents might sell for $2.99, $3. What a machine makes depends almost entirely on the location that it's in. My route average, what my machines are bringing in on average, is about $1,500 per month per machine. My worst one that we got rid of pretty quick was around $300 a month. I will tell you the story on that in a little bit. My best one is $5,500 a month, pretty much month after month. It's the same machine, it's the same operator, it's just me, but it's a completely different outcome. And that's because I made some tough mistakes and figured out that the location matters just as much as everybody tells you it does. It's not about the machine, so don't stress about picking the perfect manufacturer or picking the fanciest machine. Pick the right location is really the only thing that matters. Like any other business, obviously revenue does not equal profit. There's a lot of other things that are going to get subtracted out of that total number. You've got credit card processing fees, inventory, if you have some spoilage happening, food expiring, gas, insurance, sometimes revenue share, if you've got to pay rent to even get that location. Eventually, if you're doing it right, you'll hire on some labor and you're going to have a cost for that. None of them are scary to talk about alone. They're small percentages, sometimes 1%, sometimes 5%, but if you add them up, eventually they matter a bit more. After everything, I'm typically netting around 35 to 40%. On an average machine doing $1,500 a month, that is between $520 to $600 a month in actual take-home profit. All right, so now really quick, I want to talk about the payback math, which in my eyes, this is how I see the whole business as a worthwhile venture. This is truly why I fell in love with this business. So using my first machine as an example, it cost me $3,800 at the time. I think the prices have, probably gone up in the last year and a half. But if that machine is making $500 a month in profit, it will pay for itself in 7 months. Everything after that is cash flow from an asset that I've paid off. Compare that to my warehouse location. That machine does about $5,500 a month. And obviously it paid for itself in under 2. So that is why you should obsess with locations. I know everybody says it, but let me be just one more person to burn it into your brain. The biggest lesson I wish I had someone explain to me on day one is that the first one is the hardest one to buy. You're going to invest that $5,000 once, and every machine after that has been purchased, thankfully, with the money the business is already generating. It's making on its own. One machine pays for another machine. That machine pays for the next machine, and then the next one, and then the next one, and so on and so forth. And that's literally the business model. And the only thing that changes is how fast your snowball rolls. So that's almost entirely determined by the quality of locations that you land. So one rule that I've made for myself is if I don't believe a location can really pay for its own machine in 12 months, I'm not going to do the deal. Like profit, I'm not going to do the deal. So after my first bad placement, I think that rule has saved me from quite a few other bad ones. So everything from here on out is really going to be about finding the kinds of locations that make that sort of math possible. So to touch on real quick, my best machine, people always ask me what my best machine is. And truly, I don't think it's about the machine at all. It's about where that machine is sitting. So just quickly at a glance, my best performing location is a hard labor, blue collar manufacturing location. There's about 225 employees there, 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. Even in the summer, they've got a 6th day that they're running in there. So all I have in there, you guys, is one cooler. I have one Haha Ultra. It is the double door cooler, and it is pulling in a consistent $5,500 a month. So meanwhile, like I mentioned, my route averages about $1,500 per month per machine. So it's the same business, same operator, totally different outcome. It is really just about where you put those machines, which is why I just kind of laugh a little when people tell me how many machines they have. My first question is always like, okay, cool, but how much is each one making? Because if you've got 100 machines pulling in $300 each, I mean, why do the amount of work needed for that? Just get some good locations. Here is a photo of one of my locations, double machine there, and just kind of what it looks like after 5 days of no restocking. You can see there it is pretty empty. I could let it go a little while longer, but clearly they need some stuff after the 5th day. So I would rather have 10 incredible locations than 50 mediocre ones. So getting into the actual product math, one of the bigger mistakes I see beginners making is thinking pricing is just a simple formula, a 2 times, 3 times, just a simple markup equation. I bought it for $1, I'm gonna sell it for $3 type deal. And sometimes that works, definitely. Sometimes it doesn't though. So here is a quick snapshot of what my real pricing from my machines looks like today. I think I touched on this earlier. A 16-ounce soda right now I'm buying for about 66 cents. I do sell those for anywhere from $2.89 to $3.09. Takis, the bigger bag, 3.25 ounce, about $1.50. I'm selling them for $3.79. Ham and turkey multigrain sandwiches. They're pretty big. They're pretty good. People like them. I get them for $3.44 a piece, and I'm selling them all day long for $7.09. Monster, $1.77, selling it for $4.09. So my rule of thumb is I am generally aiming for around a 65% gross margin across the entire machine. But that's only one piece of it. The number I actually care about is what's called penny margin. It's the actual dollars and cents that every single transaction puts into my pocket. Some products can have an incredible percentage margin, 90% at times. But if it's only putting 90 cents per sale every single time that item is sold, it's not really going to be as important to me. I'm not going to stress about it. I'm not going to worry about it. Now, take a product that has a lower margin, 35, even 40%. If it's putting $3 into my pocket every single time somebody buys that item, that's going to be something that I get excited for. That's why I don't try to force every product to hit the exact same margin. I'm balancing the percentage margin, the penny margin, the sales volume, how many of that product are actually going to move, and whether or not that product kind of orchestrates other sales to happen in the overall machine. What is its role in the overall machine? I look at it like every product has a job. Some make really, really great profit. Love those items, okay? Some are there because customers kind of expect to see them. They're staple, they're recognizable brands. You gotta have them. Some become repeat purchases. Some make the machine feel more premium. You've got to have those, in my opinion. I'm not trying to maximize every individual SKU and get the absolute highest percentage margin possible. I am trying to maximize the performance of the machine as a whole. And sometimes you do that by taking a lower percentage margin in an effort to put more pennies into your pocket every single time something is sold. The other lesson I learned pretty quickly is I don't stock what I like. I stock what they will buy. Take Joyburst on my previous slide. I honestly have never even tried one. I don't know what it is. The functional drinks, lion's manes, they've got, mushrooms in them. It just, I don't know. It's not for me, but one of my locations is going through 36 bottles in a week, row after row after row after them. And I mean, I can't even get them in there quick enough. They're still gone when I come back. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you think it's good. It matters if people are going to buy it. And in my case, customers have already answered that question for me with the Joyburst. Eventually, every machine is going to develop its own personality. My biggest sellers are pretty predictable: Coke, Twix, White Monster, Takis, Hot Cheetos, the staples. But every location is going to tell a different story as it evolves. Take the Joyburst machine, for example. I would be losing out on big revenue if I didn't quadruple up on the rows of Joyburst. One of my machines is absolutely flying through cold pressed juices, whereas another one, I can't get rid of them. I've got one that absolutely just can't get enough of the Hillshire charcuterie plates. I have locations with a very large Hispanic workforce, and some of the things that are going there are Jarritos, conchas, Mexican candies are crushing it. For the Jarritos, I stock the glass bottles with the actual bottle caps on them. I even have padlocked a bottle opener to one of the shelves so that they can open up their bottles without worrying somebody's going to steal my nice bottle opener every day. You just can't force every single machine to look the same. And honestly, you shouldn't want to either. Let your customers build out the machine for you based on what they want and what they're buying. All right, so the 4 steps that I think you're going to actually take to do this. Everything up until this point was just kind of some context. Me, the business, what prices look like, why are we talking about vending at all? So from here on out, this is kind of the actual step-by-step playbook I would follow if I were starting over from scratch today. 4 steps in order. One thing that I genuinely believe, I will say really quick, I think a lot of times beginners tend to do these steps backwards. They spend weeks and sometimes even months researching machines before they have anywhere to put one. And they might worry about logos and what their website looks like before they even know how to sell something or have their first location. They buy the equipment before they even know how to qualify a location. 4 steps. 1, go get some customers. We're going to talk about where to look, how to find some spots from your couch, what my pop-ins look like, what they sound like, some different things I think are important when talking to people face to face. Number 2, we're going to talk about how to close the deal. The no cost amenity pitch. I personally believe that sales is never just about having a canned pitch, as people say. It is about having a can full of pitches. Find the right one for that person and make it about them. We're going to talk about objection handling, the true, honest close rate math on this. Ordering machines and product stocking. What to buy, financing options, manufacturers, what to stock, where to get it from, all of those things. And number 4, run it, let it grow. What the weekly workload looks like, the referral flywheel, and just kind of how they start coming once you've got a nice developed route and positive experiences from other people. So if you take nothing else from this guide at all, locations over machines, qualification before pitching, everything else gets easier after you keep that in mind. Okay, step 1, like I said, go get some customers. How are we going to do it? Your entire job in this business is just to build a pipeline of locations that are actually worth pitching, not just to go buy a machine, not to design a logo. You just have to know where to look and how to qualify your locations. This is my personal opinion. Some people might agree, some people might disagree. This is based on my own machines, what I've seen firsthand, and conversations that I've had with a lot of other very similar operators. There's obviously going to be exceptions to any rule A location could look incredible on paper, and sometimes they're just still gonna completely flop. You can't ever tell, it's not perfect, but employee count, traffic flow, where the machine is going to actually sit, whether people genuinely need it or not, how captive is your audience. That's going to matter more, I think, than the type of business itself. So if we're going to look at it, my number one, I think you guys can probably tell at this point, is manufacturing, warehouses, industrial, blue collar, hard labor. They're my favorite. Captive audiences. Like I mentioned before, a lot of them take public transport. A lot of them carpool, they ride share to get there. They are very hot. They are working their asses off. They've got very long shifts, very short breaks, and they don't care. They don't care about fancy branding. They don't need the machine to be the nicest, most expensive one on the market. They just want fresh food that's not expired, consistent service, and machines that work every single day. So while everybody else is chasing luxury apartments, I mean, which are good, yes, we're going to talk about them, these are the ones that I'm going after. I also think my number two is going to be construction sites on temporary contracts. I'm probably going to get a lot of people in the comments saying stuff here, but these are absolute monsters. I don't have one of these yet. This is going to take me a little time just to figure out kind of the nitty gritty of how exactly to get into these places. I don't know a lot of people in construction. If you do, listen up, because I know an operator out in the Northeast doing $24,000 a month from one freaking construction site, you guys. It's 1,000 workers. It's a 3-year contract. They're building a factory. So 5 or 6 days a week, I can't remember, 1,000 people a day are using his setup. It's under a kind of semi-permanent tent. And he's got like 6-foot folding tables, some old like grocery store sliding door refrigerators, and a kiosk, shelves of chips. And they clean it out. So consider that, but these are supposed to be phenomenal. If you've got stuff being built all over your town, think about these. The downside is, most projects are gonna wrap up anywhere between 12 to 36 months. At that point, you gotta pull your equipment and go find a new place for it. You're gonna have to be moving things more often, but I don't know, if I'm that one guy bringing in $24,000 a month from that one location, I don't really mind. Number 3, student housing, college adjacent, maybe not even dedicated student housing, but if you know that it's primarily college students living there, they are young, they are late nights, they are hungover, they need caffeine, they impulse buy, all of the things that you look for in this business. The trade-off is the potential of slightly higher theft, maybe vandalism, potentially more wear and tear, things like that. Use your best judgment, but those can be great. I would say that they would easily do $2,500 a month, depending on the size, all the way up to over $7,000 I've seen. I'm gonna rank luxury apartment complexes at number 4. It's not my number 1. I'm gonna rank it number 4. When these are good, they are really good, but they're some of the hardest to land. They have very high expectations in regards to the service, which, okay, fine, you should be giving good service anyways. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. Property management groups don't make it easy. Finding a place on the property that works for you, that's not in the main site of everything, the aesthetic aspect of it, all of that. They're great, yes, when they're 250 to 300 plus units, but the downside is going to be all the hoops you're going to have to jump through to land them. Funny little tidbit, I know an operator out in, I think, Philadelphia. I know that his entire route right now is 3 Stockwells, which if you look them up, you'll see they're all 3 in high-rise residential apartments. I don't know how big each building is, but literally those 3 are doing $9,000 to $10,000 a month each. So just in 3 locations, all on the same property, he's bringing in $30,000 a month. I mean, those are absolute unicorns, but they still exist. Go find those. Number 5 for me is going to be large offices. Not necessarily office complexes, but large offices where you can place something in a main break room where everybody's going to pass it. The difficult thing here, and at least in my experience, is hybrid work has changed this category completely. 300 employees used to mean 300 employees, and now it doesn't really mean you've got 300 people in a building every single day. This one's very hit or miss from what I've personally experienced and what I've heard from others. Some of these are incredible. Some of them are terrible. I think if you want to grow, you're going to have to pay to play and take some risks, but you just won't know until you actually get in there. My number 6 is, I think, one that is not talked about so much. It's schools and teacher lounges. They're more consistent than people think. I have a preschool location. The machine is located inside the teacher's lounge. It's not accessible by the parents or people dropping their kids off. It's not accessible by any students or children. It is literally just about 80 teachers on this property, which is a very low number from typically what I look like. I projected it to be maybe $600, $700, $800 a month originally. It's doing a consistent $1,500 to $2,200 a month, depending on how hot it is outside. The thing here is there's some specifics you got to dive into. The teachers at this location, they can't leave during lunchtime or nap time because the kids are so little. A lot of teachers, as the kids get bigger, can either leave the property or have a dedicated actual lunch break while the kids go to the cafeteria. At a lot of these preschoolers, the kids are staying inside their room. The teachers are opening their boxes for them, wiping their mouths, wiping their hands, cleaning stuff off their shirt. They're not really getting a dedicated break. So what do? They need to go impulse buy. They need something quick. They're a very captive audience. And at this location, that is going to beat the head count, I think, almost every single time. Number 7, medical offices, clinics, staff-facing placements. These are long hours. These are grueling shifts. They're on their feet a lot. I think these can do great, but the biggest downside is just getting through corporate approval at most of these very large medical groups. That can be tough. My number 8 is going to be hotels. I don't personally have any of these in my portfolio. I haven't really sought them out so much, but they seem to be very hit or miss from what I hear. Some do great. Some already have lobby markets. Some of them have grab and go. If they've got a Starbucks in the lobby, that's not going to do that great. So it's just going to make vending a tougher sell to get it in, and it's maybe going to take away from what you can make in the end. Getting down into the red here, I'm going to say gyms. I apologize if anybody watching this has a gym that's an amazing placement. If you do, I want to hear about it. But from what I have heard, people are always thinking, oh, a gym's got to be great. People are buying healthy stuff, premium products, protein shakes are expensive, the whole thing. Anybody who's going to buy a healthy snack at a gym is typically going to bring their own. People are very specific with their flavors, what type of creatine they bring, what protein types they actually like, which ones they personally think are chalky. They're just too specific with what they like. It's not possible for you to stock enough variety to make enough people happy that it's worth it for you. So I personally think enough people have tested that so that I don't need to. I don't chase them. Small offices, number 10, under 50 people, guys. They say that, oh, we want it. Oh, our employees would love it. We want snacks. No, okay? Real estate offices are a classic trap. Agents are never actually there. Every vendor is dropping off free donuts, coffee, or lunch. If they have a small head count and they're not there often, obviously don't do that. Number 11 and number 12, low occupancy apartments and salons, boutiques, small retail, niche locations. Obviously, just don't, okay? Anywhere that just lets you place a machine is usually going to be under $500 a month. This is probably the biggest beginner mistake I see. New operators get so excited to hear their first yes that they just stop asking whether or not it's a good quality yes. I personally believe that permission is not opportunity. A bad location will cost you inventory, time, gas, and a machine that could have been making real money somewhere else. So I would rather hear 10, 20 no's than put a machine somewhere that I know I'm going to end up pulling 6 months later. How I'm finding locations from my couch and kind of my qualification checklist. People are always asking me what makes a good location. And honestly, I do not think that there is just a magic formula for this. It's usually a bunch of green flags that adds up. These are the things that I'm looking for before I ever waste my time pitching a property. So number 1 is going to be density, like your head count. For apartments, I say at least 150 units. I would be much happier at more than 300, obviously. But these people have full kitchens upstairs. You need enough residents to create buying volume. Number 2, a big thing a lot of times people miss out on, they hear a location has 350 units How occupied are they really? 40 to 50% leased doesn't necessarily scare me. I will sign early with an occupancy trigger. And by the time another operator calls, I'm already in there doing business, great relationship, the whole thing. Number 3, I look for a true traffic funnel. That's going to be your placement within the location. Mail rooms, package rooms, especially the entrance to the main garage. If they park their car there and they go straight up the elevator, obviously put it right by the elevator. Vending is almost never, ever, ever a destination purchase. I don't care if you think I can make it a destination. I'm gonna have great marketing. I thought the same thing. People only buy from you because they see it. They impulse buy. My first apartment machine was 15 feet from the mailroom. It was adjacent to the pool. People exiting the gym had to walk by it, but it was not directly visible from the mailroom. They had to peek around a corner to see it. It was averaging $300 a month before I pulled it. And I was here thinking, no, my marketing's gonna be good. No, it's not. I've tried it, okay? Number 4, obviously look for if there's any competing amenities on site. Existing old vending doesn't bother me. That's not gonna make me stop chasing a location. Quite the opposite, actually. I think that when a location already has vending on site, they've already been sold on the idea altogether. I just have to position myself as the better operator, better technology, yada, whatever's important to them. I'm just the better version of it. And I think that's easy. So what you should not have is any sort of free drink, snack being handed out in the leasing office. The real estate offices, like I said, they've always got vendors coming in, bringing them donuts, wanting to be a preferred vendor on a list, the whole thing. So take a look for competing amenities, take it seriously. My number 5 is going to be distance to convenience. If you have to have somebody drive in 8 to 10 minutes for a Coke, especially in a Vegas summer, like that is probably a great sign. Gas station next door is not a total no-go for me, but you have to be willing to go in, see what the pricing looks like, and ask yourself, can I actually price competitively? Can I be exactly on par with their pricing across the board? Maybe adjust later once habits form, but if you can't do that, no. Number 6, your demographics. Young people buy more. They do. 20s and 30s, they automatically are going to spend more on convenience items. They like to try viral products. They pay more for convenience. You know, we're used to DoorDash and things like that and paying extra fees for that. If you're looking at primarily retiree communities, they are going to be more price conscious. Typically, I would just avoid them. They don't spend the same. Number 7, does the machine match the property is probably where I would go if a location has already checked off all the other boxes. Luxury communities don't want vending, you guys. I probably don't have to say that, but they want a modern convenience amenity. It's the same machine, but if you call it something different, obviously it'll produce a different conversation. The nicer the property, the more the presentation matters. Ask yourself too, my next step would be like, who is actually saying yes here? If I'm pitching this to the leasing agent and she's giving me a yes, that's great and all, but if she's not the one signing on the dotted line, it doesn't really matter to me. Property managers are probably gonna have to send it through regional managers, Graystar, Cushman and Wakefield, Avenue 5. Some approvals are gonna happen in one meeting with those places. Not likely. Most of the time they're gonna need things like W-9s, insurance, vendor credentialing, background checking, weeks of vendor onboarding. So just know that before you start. Don't get frustrated. It's not a today business. Number 9, not a necessity, but a great thing to have is an internal champion. Sometimes all it takes is one leasing agent who genuinely likes the idea or thinks it's needed. Having somebody on your side, it's all about who you know. Get those people on your side. They will push it through, get it to the regional faster, answer emails, and they'll keep your deal moving when you're not there. So those people are gold. Nurture them. Love those people. And number 10, these are not ranked in order of importance necessarily. I think this is one of my most important location qualifiers, is what does this look like if they actually say yes? If I go in and pitch a location and they end up saying yes to me, what is it gonna look like within the circuit of the rest of my route? I definitely ignored this too much early on. I build in clusters now. If I'm going to cross town, cross the valley, it's gonna have to be for more than one location. If that location is gonna say yes, I have to get 1 or 2 or hopefully 3 in that same general area or zip code before agreeing to any of them. I've got to get multiple people on board, because even an amazing location is going to lose its appeal if it's an hour away from everything else that you're servicing regularly. Just real brief. Yes, one lesson I learned the hard way. Always ask if the office gives away free food or drinks. My very first apartment location, the one that was $300 a month because it wasn't visible from the mailroom. The location also handed out just a few items: mini cans of Coke, Diet Coke, mini water bottles, and 1 type of bag of chips for a couple of hours on the weekdays. Literally like 3 hours during the week. It really doesn't sound like it would impact your business all that much, but it absolutely changed people's buying behavior. When they know that if they just wait 2 more hours, they can go get it for free, they're gonna wait. So consider that. Don't overlook that part. This is where I personally think the business kind of gets fun. This is gonna be my pop-in playbook, kind of actually how I land locations and how I am getting people to say yes. So first things first, start with places you already go. Your first location is probably somewhere already in your life. It could be your kid's school, your gym, if you want to go after it, your church, the warehouse where your brother-in-law is working. A warm introduction converts many times faster than a cold walk-in. And you already understand those buildings better than a stranger would, so have at it. Go with what you know. And then you just start doing your pop-ins. A pop-in is exactly what it sounds like. You walk in the front door, you smile, introduce yourself, talk to whoever's at the desk, ask for the manager. Mine is going to vary pretty heavily based on who I'm talking to. Basically, mine is something like, "Hi, I'm Madison and I run a local vending service. I specialize in placing modern cashless smart machines at locations just like this. I couldn't help but notice that your location doesn't have vending, or maybe sometimes it might be. I noticed that your machines look like they haven't been loved in a little while. I handle everything: stocking, cleaning, inventory, upkeep, and it's all at no cost to your property. Is there anyone available that I could talk to for 5 minutes about the idea?" Notice what I'm not doing. I'm not spending any time pitching the front desk person. I'm just asking them for a name. I'm asking them for 5 minutes. The front desk people will know everything. At my best warehouse location, the girl at the front desk actually turned out to be the HR manager. So just quick note on this: be kind to the gatekeepers that you meet, because they could be the person you're actually looking for. Realistically, majority of the time, they will know who you're looking for, and if you're kind to them, they should take you there. Want to touch on one thing really quick as well: paid leads, because a lot of people ask this. My best location did actually come through a paid lead service called Vending Exchange. At the time, I was paying around $39 a month for access to the list of leads that could come available in your location at any point. When a location that was interesting to you did come up, you just kind of had to fight for it. It was first come, first serve. I paid $800 for my warehouse location originally. The difference is all they do is they introduce you to the decision maker. They give you their contact information straight and you let them talk. There is no guarantee of a placement. If they have a ridiculous insurance requirement that you just can't get past as a small operator, then it's money down the drain. It was absolutely worth it at that time, but since then the pricing has gone up significantly. Anybody who has used these location locators will know that not only has the price gone up, but the location quality has kind of gone down too. So one great location may be worth chasing on there. Building a business that depends on buying leads though isn't. If I were starting today, I'd spend far more time on pop-ins and building my own outreach than I would on vending location services. Now that you've started doing your 4 steps, you've done your pop-ins, step 2 of your 4-step program here is going to be just get in, talk to those decision makers, and close a deal. I think this is the part of the business that scares people the most, even though it probably should scare you the least. So I'm going to hopefully take some fear out of it for you guys. Keep it in mind. It's all about how you position this for them. You are offering them a totally free, no cost amenity. It is a big value for them. They pay nothing. They don't service it. They don't touch it. You are not asking for a favor. So if you think about what you're actually putting on the table, a brand new smart machine that costs thousands of dollars, the property gets it installed, stocked, cleaned, maintained for $0 forever. Their employees and residents get cold drinks, fresh food without leaving the property. For the property manager, you are one of the easiest yeses that they're going to say yes to on their desk this month. So match your language to the property. Luxury apartment communities don't want to hear the word vending. They want to hear a modern convenience amenity. Same machine, different conversation. A warehouse manager doesn't really care about any of that. He just wants to know the machine will work and stay full. Call it vending there if you want, but mirror the location that you're at. And if it's a luxury one, keep it in mind that they're going to have luxury terms. The pitch itself is really pretty simple, you guys. When I finally sit down with the decision makers, I'm not going to be reciting a script. I'm just doing two things. I'm finding their problem and I'm positioning my service as the solution for it. I'm just going to tell them exactly how I'm going to fix it. Most locations might already have a vending story, and typically it's a bad one. So I ask about it and then just shut your mouth and listen to what they're going to say. If you listen closely enough, people are going to tell you how to sell them if you just stop talking. So their problem, for example, might be, in my case, one machine was broken for more than 60 days. Now this is pretty extreme, but it does happen. They might have expired food, frustrated employees. My promise, brand new equipment. I'm going to stock it at least once a week. It is never going to be out of service. Our machines have a 98% uptime, I think, and fresh product. What do you want in there? Tell me what it is. I'll put it in there. And then I gave him a specific timeline, 2 weeks. If you get the old machines out, I'll have mine in 2 weeks. And so he signed right there on the spot. That is literally the whole pitch, you guys. And every location you land makes your next pitch easier. Once I could say I service a manufacturing facility with over 200 employees, those conversations changed completely. The first yes will buy you a lot of credibility into getting all of the yeses that are going to come after it, okay? Here are some objections you're probably actually going to hear out there in the day-to-day. You're going to hear a lot of them, so just get ready for it, get used to it. Don't attack them, but be ready. So one of my favorite objections, and maybe other people hate this, I love it. We already have vending. Love it. That means that the property has already been sold on the idea of having something on site for either the residents, for the employees, whoever it is that's going to use it. They are sold on the idea so much so that they already have it. I'm just going to offer a better version. So I ask how it's going. When was the vendor last there? If there was one thing that they could change about it to make it better, what would it be? Are the machines old and dated compared to the rest of the property? That should be easy. You're not asking them to make a decision. They've already made a decision. They have vending. You are asking them to make a choice. Are they going to go with you? Are they going to go with somebody else? Should be an easy choice if you position yourself as better. So some of my best locations, it's exactly the conversation I use. Another one, just send me some information. Sometimes this is real. Usually this is somebody just being too uncomfortable to say no to your face. It could be either way. I might follow up with a specific conversation on a specific date because the money is in the follow-up, not necessarily the first conversation in this business. Don't take it personal. Corporate has to approve it. Great. Who at corporate would I be speaking with? Some approvals happen in one meeting. Like I said earlier, some are going to need lots of back of house details, vendor onboarding. I just kind of rather know that process up front so I can be more intentional about the timelines I give. I don't want to promise I can have machines in there in 2 weeks if their vendor onboarding process is going to take 2 months. So keep that in mind, but your internal champions are going to be important to your pitch here. Well, what does this cost us? Nothing. That's the entire point. This is usually the moment you can get a conversation to turn. People have the mentality that sometimes if something sounds too good to be true, it typically is. Just remind them that this is a benefit for me, obviously. I'm not giving you something totally free. It's another stop on my route. Obviously, it benefits me, but it doesn't just benefit me. It benefits you, it benefits your residents, and it's a program that makes everybody happy. It's a win-win-win-win-win all the way around. So we don't really have the space. These machines have a smaller footprint than your typical vending machine. You have to understand that even if you call it a modern cashless amenity, most people are still probably thinking those old spiral machines that don't hold as much for as big as they are. So much of that space is taken up with internal mechanisms. Just remind them that it's basically a fridge. If you have room for a small upright fridge, you probably have room for one. And this is when I would just take time to walk the building with them and see if I can find any high traffic spots on the property. This one is a tough one because this is really honestly the close rate math, okay? How many no's it's gonna take before you get a yes. One of the biggest things I see from beginners is thinking that they're doing something wrong just because people keep saying no. So honestly, you just gotta get it through your mind now that that is the business. Maybe you're doing something wrong, but even when you're doing everything right, you are still gonna get lots of no's. I realistically believe that for every 20 to 40 conversations you started, you'll probably generate one signed location when you're getting started. Now, when you become an experienced operator, when you start getting referrals, word of mouth, property managers move around this industry a lot, you might have had a great conversation with them and they couldn't get it through approval with their corporate, but guess what? Now they're at a new location and that one's easy to get into. It might be a super simple conversation done on day one. So as your route grows, it's gonna come down, but it's still a solid probably 15 to 20 conversations you'll have for every yes. So I really don't even think they're all real no's either. The no's that you hear are not gonna be no. It's gonna be, I don't have enough information yet. I'm not the person in charge of making the decision. I missed your email, not right now. They're not no's. They're just, I need a little bit more time, value, conversation, whatever it might be, before saying yes. That's why this is a pipeline business more than a persuasion business. You can't convince everybody to do it, but you can fill that pipeline and eventually it will burst, and probably it'll burst all at once. I think another thing people underestimate is follow-up. Some of my best locations took, not even gonna lie, 10, some of them took 20 touch points before getting a yes. People change jobs, budgets change, contracts expire, properties get sold. Inevitably, you will have almost a yes. And the regional manager that you have been working with who is about to sign your contract gets moved. It happens so much. Don't take it personally. Just know, follow up, follow up, follow up. I don't think there's such thing as too many follow-ups. Do it tactfully and you can go in as many times as you want. Step 3 of our 4-step program is gonna be, you've got a yes, you've sold somebody, you closed, time to order the machine, get you some product in it. This is the step, if you notice, that comes after you have your first yes. There's very rare occasions where you would need to order a machine before having a yes, okay? Locations before machines, guys. So here's what they look like. Everything I own is a smart cooler or smart store. Think like a micro market type setup. Anywhere from $3,500, high end, maybe $12,000, or if you have to get a double setup going for a larger location. My first was a HaHa, all in at that point, it was $3,800 plus some shipping. It was a great first machine. It let me get in without a huge financial commitment, so I love that. Some people buy used. I don't know, maybe the used deals are better in your area than mine, but anytime I see somebody selling some sort of smart machine, a modern solution on Facebook Marketplace or some other resale format, they're typically selling it for about the same price that you would be able to buy it for at that point. Maybe you could get it quick if you were in a pinch, that could be good, but I would just rather go direct, get some warranties, things like that. As for manufacturers, I personally own HaHa and Cantaloupe, and I am currently getting some Micro Mart on order. I know everything inside and out about 365. They are great products. I just don't personally own any of their machines or technology at this point. There's some newer ones, Sandstar, Vendera. I'm the biggest HaHa fan. They just work how I want them to. They fit my business model. Everybody's gonna have a different opinion on the best manufacturer. I don't think that there is one perfect manufacturer. I think that you have to be willing to look at the location and ask yourself, what do they need? Once you've picked what type of machine or technology is best for that location that you've just signed, you have to ask yourself, how am I gonna pay for it? So for me, I didn't just write one big giant check. I use 0% introductory APR credit cards, some of them 18 up to 21 months interest free. I tracked things on a spreadsheet as I grew. I paid off every balance before interest kicked in. Some people are really creative. If you have a balance left over, balance transfer it to a new introductory APR. The interest that I have paid so far in 18 months is $0. I have actually made money from my points, cash back, travel offers, things like that, referral codes, all kinds of things. So consider that. That's how I did it. The cost that people seem to forget is every manufacturer has its own payment processor built in. That's how you can accept cards. These machines are very, very rarely cash accepting machines, other than maybe the occasional micro market. So there is going to be credit card processing. If it's an AI machine, there's going to be AI transaction fees. For Haha, I think right now it is 5.5% credit card processing fees on every transaction, plus a 5-cent AI fee on every transaction. Funds are typically sent ACH weekly. You can request them more than that. You can set it up once a month. They usually hit my account 2 to 3 days later. Not a reason not to buy, just needs to kind of be something that you think about. Just get it set up in a way that makes sense for you. After that, pretty simple. What are you gonna put in the machine? Go to Costco. There's wholesale distributors, things like Vistar, US Foods, Cisco. And you can also buy direct from brands. If you're struggling to get something through a distributor, go direct to the brands. I think personally Costco has some of the best drink pricing I've found, but if you buy everything there, your machine is gonna look just like your next door neighbor competition. If you go with wholesale distributors, you can get a lot more variety, but there's more planning involved. And you need to watch expiration dates, because sometimes I hear people are getting things that are pretty close to being out of date. I do love buying direct from brands. A lot of times it can be the best pricing. Sometimes they've got pretty high minimums. You're having to order a pallet, which for a small operator, that's obviously not feasible. And those take more planning as well. I don't think that there's one perfect supplier. I think the best operators know how and when to use each one to their benefit. I kind of have a balance of all three. I do all three of those. I still go to Costco. I order from Vistar, those sorts of things. A good tip, I think, is you don't have to have the most variety in your inventory to start. Start small, see what people buy before you're left with a lot of things that aren't moving. Pay attention to what people are actually buying, and then let the machine earn the right to expand its selection. Step 4, final step of our business here, is run your business, let it grow, let it plateau, do what fits your life. What my typical week looks like is I will spend about 6 to 8 hours out of those 12 to 14 stocking. I still stock some of my machines myself. I do have some help. Once I got to the point where it made sense to hire somebody, yes, I have hired somebody out. I pick the orders the night before, get them all in the boxes, load them into my car, and then I cluster the ones that I want. I'm not gonna pass around town this way, that way. I'm gonna do maybe a circle and end up at my house again. Most of my inventory for that does end up at my door. A lot of it shows up at my door. Every other week or so, I do one big Costco order. I actually go in and I still pick it up, but still, it takes me less than an hour. I know where the things are that I want. I'm not wandering, I'm not reading labels. Another hour each week is spent checking dates, rotating product, maybe making an online order or two, looking up some viral trends, just kind of some things on the computer like that. I do bookkeeping once a month, just kind of see where everything is. As for my restocker, I'm currently paying $20 an hour and 2% commission to him. I feel like that extra little kick, that tiny percent, makes him take that much more care when stocking the machine, making it look nice, making sure that all the products are straight, making sure it sells well. If he gets a benefit, whether or not it sells well, then obviously he's going to do a better job. So right now it's 8 to 10 hours a week. It's a great job for somebody looking for maybe a side hustle, a student, a high schooler. As long as they have a car that you can fit a couple crates in, you know, that's the only thing you really look for. When I say I spend 12 to 14 hours a week on this, I want you guys to understand clearly that when I am in a growth phase, I dedicate more time than that to pop-ins, negotiating contracts, following up. It's going to take more time than the normal 12 to 14 hours a week you spend. Where my route is right now, my current 16 machines, I only have to dedicate about 12 hours a week to making sure that they are all perfect. Most weeks are right on that mark. Like I mentioned before, there is going to be the occasional emergency. Inevitably, once in a while, something is going to go wrong. A lot less often with these machines than the old school machines. But in the end, yeah, sometimes you're going to have something at a bad time. A couple of weeks ago, one of my main machine controllers died. I spent like an hour putting a new POS on it, the credit card reader, because that's what we thought the issue was. In the end, it didn't work. I had to take that POS off, put the old one back on, and then put a new main controller in. It took me maybe an hour extra that I had to stand up there being very frustrated. The machine was down for 2 days while I waited for the new main controller to come in. But then after the extra hour installing that part, all was good, and I haven't had to touch it other than my 30 minutes a week every single week since then. So thankfully, everything was covered under warranty, but it is a good reminder that you're still running a business. Things are going to break. Shit's going to go down. Technology is going to have hiccups. All of those things. So the difference here, though, in this business is those moments are the exception. They're not the rule. Most weeks, it is a boring business that quietly does its thing while I spend time with my family. Another thing about growth is, yes, you do have to chase it. You do have to put in more time if you're actively trying to grow. But once you get to a certain part, the referrals are going to come in. They're going to land in your lap, and it's going to compound. I have not done a true cold pop-in since February. And just for example, it's now July. Everything since then, which I've had a couple, has come from referrals, property management relationships, existing calls, or just a property introducing me straight to someone else. Initially, growth might feel a lot like pushing a snowball uphill. It is hard, it's slow. The snowball does not get very big very fast. But as one location starts to introduce another, eventually get to the top of that hill, and the momentum just starts creating itself. It's all downhill from there. So earn that downhill the boring way. Keep your machines full. Keep the food fresh. Answer your damn phone when somebody calls you, and just fix problems. That's it. That's the bar. It's pretty low. And if you keep it there, it will put you ahead of most everybody else. So near the end here, you guys, just wanted to give you a little bit more kind of about how it looks, how this has looked for me. My timeline, 18 months, 16 locations. It definitely didn't happen overnight. So I just want you to see what this really looks like, because it can be frustrating to hear the no's. Don't get stuck under them. Don't get discouraged. There were months where I definitely felt like I had all the momentum in the world, and then just nothing was actually coming to fruition. It's pretty normal. And then, like I said, all at once, you'll have nothing going on, and then your pipeline will burst, and you'll have 4 installs in 2 weeks, and you'll be ripping your hair out because there's not enough time in the world to make that happen. So January 2025, like I said, opened my LLC on New Year's Day. February 2025, landed locations 1 and 2. They were pretty much back to back. March through May of 2025, it was busy. I grew to 7 locations at that point. August and September was number 8 and number 9 for me. January 2026, 10, 11, and 12 came. March was 13 and 14, and June, most recently, I have just added locations 15 and 16 to my portfolio. So like I said, I'm not intentionally in growth mode right now. Could I keep adding machines with pop-ins and time and dedication? Yeah, definitely. And I will, but I just really don't want to right now. My kids are so little. My summers are short. My husband works in the travel industry, so we're constantly trying to go get out there and spend time together while we can. And right now, I would just rather try to build new memories than squeeze another 10 or 15 machines into my schedule. This is kind of a fun little thing to keep in mind too. If I stopped growing today, this business would likely still produce $100,000 to $120,000 in annual profit with me taking that same 12 to 14 hour weeks most weeks. For this season of life that I'm in, that's enough for me right now. Growth is not always about saying yes to more locations, to more revenue. Sometimes it's just about building something that gives you the freedom to say yes to everything else that you want to do. So what now? If you have listened to me talk for this long, I think that you are probably more informed and armed with information about starting your own vending route than most other people out there. How you move forward is entirely up to you. I'm going to give you two options that I see as the two reasonable options here. Option A is going to be take this document and execute it yourself. And I mean that with the utmost sincerity. This document is a solid foundation to what it looks like and what it takes to build your own vending route. The tier list, the location qualifier, some of my exact scripting. I mean, you have a lot of fundamentals here that you might be able to take out and go on your own. So if that is what you want to do, more power to you. If you land a location because of this information, I would love if you would leave me a message, let me know how it went. I'd love to hear from you. Option B, do it with me. I'm starting a small group where I work with you directing on launching and scaling your vending business. We'll identify locations together, practice your pitch, come up with objection handling skills, actually close deals, land locations, and do everything in between. You'll also get my connections, the manufacturers that I buy my machines from, everything I know about the rest of the manufacturers, vendors that I'm buying products from, how I stock my products. You'll also get my connections, the manufacturers that I buy machines from already at better rates, the suppliers I use for products, vendors I already know, love, and trust. And maybe most importantly, you'll be around people just like you doing this every single day. Some will be more established than you. I will be in there directly speaking with you every day. We will have trials, tribulations, mistakes other people have made so that you don't make the same one. Truthfully, being in a group of like-minded people is going to be the fastest way to get you exactly where you want to be. All right, last little bit here. Questions I get asked every single day and my personal answers. I don't know if there's multiple right answers to these. These are what I have found to be tried and true. How much money do I need to actually start? Like I said, I started with about $5,000. I haven't put another personal dime into this business. It has just compounded, grown on itself since then. My goal was never to save enough money to buy 10 machines. If you want to scale very quickly, you might need a bit more available. My goal was to start with one, let that one pay for another, let that one pay for another. That's still how I think about growth today. It works for me. I would say about 5,000. How do you actually get locations? It becomes a skill more than anything else. You learn how to qualify the right properties. You go through a checklist, get in front of the decision maker, have a great conversation, handle some objections, and be sure to follow up if the timing isn't right. There isn't just one magic script that is going to get everybody to say yes to you right then and there on the spot. It's a numbers game, and the more conversations you're going to have, the more yeses are going to come to you. What if they say no? That's totally normal. A no usually isn't personal. It's timing, budget, an existing contract, or just truly not having as much understanding as you think they do. Every conversation teaches you what to look for and what not to look for in the future ones. Do I need the biggest or most expensive machine? No. It's tempting to spend weeks comparing manufacturers, but I would truthfully spend that time learning how to find better locations and getting your boots on the ground and actually having conversations. Can I do this with a full-time job? Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think it's probably one of the smartest ways to start. Most people can build this on evenings and weekends without walking away from the stability of their current paycheck. Then as the business grows, you have the opportunity to decide, do I need both? Can I make the move over into just 100% working for myself? And I think that that's what this business is all about. Is vending saturated? I think there's a lot of vending machines out there, but I don't necessarily think there's a ton of good operators. I've landed some of my best locations simply because I have just answered my phone, showed up, and did what I said I was going to do. It can really be that simple. as keeping your machines clean, keeping fresh food in them, and always showing up. One of my favorite questions is, can I do this without any experience? And the answer is absolutely, you guys. I had zero vending experience 18 months ago. Every problem you're worried about has already been solved by somebody out there. Maybe it's not me directly, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to figure this out on your own. The skills that matter most are just talking to people, following up, and those are things that anybody can learn. The only part that nobody can do for you is taking that next step. How much time should I plan to put into this is another question that I get quite frequently, and I would say this business is a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. You are gonna have to put in more in the beginning when you are doing your first pop-ins, learning the pitches, having the conversations, and going through some trial and error with your first machine. Once the route is running, you guys, it really does start to take less and less of your time as it sits there. It's not something that needs your every minute dedication. Once in a while, there's some little things that go on here and there, but like I said, I'm running my route currently between 12 to 14 hours a week. The last thing I'll say, I told you at the beginning of this that I filed my LLC on New Year's Day. And I really did that for a specific reason. I knew that if I didn't handle it right then in that very moment when I have decided I'm gonna do this, that I'd probably procrastinate for another month, another 2 months, maybe forever. Maybe I'd lose the motivation. Maybe I'd get scared. 18 months later, that one decision now runs 16 machines. It pays for our trips. It hands me back my vacations. I get to sleep in with my kids. You'll probably never feel ready. I wasn't fully ready. If you waited to be fully ready before you did something, you would never do anything. I learned more from buying one vending machine and putting it in a location than I did from countless hours of research in Facebook groups and YouTube and calling and having conversations with manufacturers. You don't need all of the answers, you just need your first lesson. A year from now, you'll look back and wish you had started today. Book a call and let's map out your first machine. It's free, it takes 20 minutes, and you'll leave knowing exactly what your first 90 days should look like. If it's not the right fit, I will be the first one to tell you. Trust me. I only work with a small group, so when the spots are filled, they're filled. Click here to book a call and let's see about what this could look like for you. Bye, you guys. Thank you so much for sitting here listening to me ramble like this. I hope that everybody learned something today. I hope that you've got some valuable little nuggets that you can stick in your back pocket, and I can't wait to see what this can do for you.